I think the most important one is the new employee safety orientation. When I started working at Dow, I told you this, my supervisor, Don Dix, spent the whole first day doing nothing but talking about safety. My safety orientation came on day one, and it was provided by my immediate supervisor. So my question for the 85 of you who are here is, when you started working for your current employer, how many of you had your immediate supervisor sit down with you on the first day that you were with him or her, and they provided an introduction to working safely in his or her research group? I've asked that question of over 100,000 people, and only 5% say yes. We need to do much, much better than that. I think this is the single most important component in a good safety plan. HR can do everything they like. That's good. The safety department can do everything they like. That's good. And then that new employee moves to their supervisor, who says, Jim, I'm glad you're here. In the room next door, we've got 600 samples, and we need to get them analyzed by Friday. If we don't, we're in big trouble. So you're welcome to work late here if you need to. You can come in by yourself and work late in the lab. But we've got to get this done. And oh, by the way, I've got this safety thing I'm supposed to do with you, but it's going to have to wait. What has your supervisor just done? Taken a sickle and gone, whoop, and taken the legs right out from underneath the lab safety program and made it very clear that making widgets is more important than your health and safety. So let's make up a 4-part carbonless form, and let's have the items on that orientation filled out. All the things that the supervisor needs to talk about and checked off as you go. And when the supervisor's done, the new employee signs it, the supervisor signs it, you both date it. The employee gets a copy, the supervisor gets a copy. The third copy goes to the HR department, who will now use it as a leading indicator how many of our new people hired anywhere in the organization, a president, a secretary, a custodian, a dean of the college, a lab manager, everybody gets this orientation done. And how many get it on day one, the first day they're with their immediate super. The fourth copy goes up the food chain one level to the supervisor's supervisor. And her job or his job is to find that new employee within 1 week, invite them for a cup of coffee, sit down, welcome them, and re-emphasize the importance of safety working with them, your supervisor, and in this group. That's critical. Now, here's something that's stunning, and this is perhaps one of the biggest secrets of all. Having the immediate supervisor do this, I said, was 5% of 100,000 people who I've asked. Watch this one. I had a meeting with the chemistry department chairs from all the colleges and universities in the Southeast United States. And I asked them, how many of you interview candidates that would like a job in your department? And I knew the answer. The answer was going to be all of them. And they all put their hands up. I knew that. So then I asked them question number 2. How many of you have ever asked a candidate the lab safety question? And they looked at each other, puzzled, and they looked at me. And finally, somebody said, what's the lab safety question? And I said, what have you done in the past that's going to help you to be contributing more effectively to our group, our department, our company's lab safety program? You know what the answer was? That's right, 0, not 1. So I just kind of said, well, okay. And I've asked this on many occasions, and the answer is very, very similar. And I would ask all of you, if you do interview people, to think about how many of you may have ever asked a candidate that question. You know, if you want to grow a culture of safety, it might not be a bad idea to only hire people who care about this and not people who don't happen to care. Over here on the bookcase, I have a friend of mine. I'll get my colleague. I'll be right back. He's right over here. Here he comes. Look out. He's here. He's a rat. This is a lab rat. This is Lab Safety Institute's lab rat. And I'm fond of saying that there are some people who I nickname them Dr. Wilson. That's my nickname, who don't happen to give a rat's you know what about lab safety. They just don't care. And organizations say to me, we're improving our lab safety program one retirement at a time. And they're referring to the retirement of Dr. Wilson. Well, okay, but do it at both ends. Hire people who care in the interview process. Incidentally, this is a small reward that we give out to, when we do leadership and safety for organizations, I give this to the head of the organization. It's a LSI's lab safety rat. And what it says is, we don't give a rat's rear for safety, we give the whole rat. Congratulations, you've just been ratted on for working safely. Now it's your turn to rat on someone else. So this is a small reward. And if we want to have a good safety program, we need a balance of what we call carrots, rewards, and sticks, discipline. And this is a very small way of saying thank you to someone. Of course, the simplest, least expensive reward you can give an employee that doesn't require a purchase order or a requisition is to say thank you for doing a good job. And I would ask you to think about, how do you reward good safety performance in your department? Put it in the job description. Do you all have an annual job review? Is there a written form that lists the topics that are going to be covered in the job review? Is lab safety, safety performance, one of the items on the list? At the Dow Chemical Company, it was on the list of 10 items. And guess where it was on the list? That's right, it was number 1. You can say something about your priorities for safety in the workplace by where you put it on the job description and in the job performance review.